Welcome to the first episode of the Cork Football Podcast. A massive thanks to anyone who's after clicking play here and giving this a go, and I hope you're going to enjoy it. This is my first foray into anything like this, so forgive me if it sounds a bit scattered and shaky, but I hope as time goes on, the quality will improve as I get a bit more confidence and it'll be a bit more coherent. Okay, why am I doing a podcast about the Cork footballers? Look, I suppose, obviously it's a passion, but in reality it's probably a midlife crisis. You know the deal. You hit 50 and some fellas, they'll go off and buy a sports car or a Harley Davidson. But I'm going to go off the deep end here and grab a phone and talk into the internet wilderness about the Cork footballers. There's going to be no Ferrari here, just pure, unfiltered GAA torment. As we all know, they're not an easy follow. There must be a streak of sadomasochism in us, because year after year, you know the drill, they'll get the hopes up. We'll eventually end up cursing the skies and saying never again. But the following January, we're back on the horse for more punishment. Some people would say, wouldn't it be a lot easier to jump on the hurling bandwagon? But I'm going to do my purgatory here on earth, and hopefully St. Peter will wave me through the gates when the time comes. I actually know a man. He started following the Cork footballers in the mid-70s, I think, and after the 2009 final, he swore that he'd never again go to see them. And he hasn't. I don't think I could do that, but that's what they do to you. And I suppose we all heard about someone heard that the Cork footballers were going up on a training weekend to Carton House, and some fella said it's to Pieta House they should be going. But when they get under your skin at a young age, look, you're stuck with them for life. There's no transfer market here. No get-out clause and no escape. I think this is probably beginning to start like a therapy session or an AA meeting. Something like, my name is John. I'm addicted to following the Cork footballers. I've been 6 months in recovery and I'm afraid I'm going to relapse soon. But seriously, I made a promise. When I took this leap of faith, I'm going to do this from the heart. I know I won't be rattling the podcast charts, and I'd say Joe Rogan is safe enough for the moment, but look, it's something I always wanted to do, and here goes. What I really want this to be about is about the supporters, just as much as the football. We'll have a bit of fun. Look, there's enough of hardship along the way with them, so this is for the long-suffering people who follow Cork. We know them all. We see the familiar faces in Portlaoise, Limerick, Killarney, and we'll give ourselves that kind of knowing, lonely look, knowing what's going to come. And but look, it is what it is. What I'd hope to offer is like, look, just some previews of the games that are coming up, and no holds barred reviews. Some random stories about following the Cork footballers, about certain matches back through the years. We look back at the highs and plenty of lows anyway. And what I'd really like to do is some interviews with some diehards, and just to share former glories and heartbreaks and everything in between. So look, they're not an easy follow, we know that, and even when they're winning. But look, we're always looking at for a ray of hope, and I get an awful slagging at home, and my father as well, and it's from him I inherited the condition. But we latch onto any link of, or any chink of hope or positivity. We'd have a decent performance and we're just one step from a breakthrough, and or we see some promising young fella and he could be the missing piece of the jigsaw. But look, all we're hoping for is that one day we'll be back like 73, 89 or 2010. And look, I suppose that's enough of the therapy coach now for the moment, and we'll talk about the football. We had a real good workout in Killarney on Saturday against our nearest and dearest. I know you can't read a whole pile into it, but look, it was our first win down there since 1995, and that's not nothing. Overall, I thought it was really positive. The game went down to the wire. We rarely come out on top when that happens against Kerry. And I just thought that there was a kind of a noticeable change in body language. We just seemed to be moving that bit freer as a unit, a bit more purpose, and with a bit less of that kind of fear and reticence that has haunted us there with years. Like, we really have to shake that off. Yeah, there was a share of negativity online about it, but I just didn't see it. I was heartened by the performance, and what really took my eye was the new faces. Couple of young fellas there that got their first run out in a significant game. Like, they weren't overawed, and if especially against the green and gold jersey, like that's the making and breaking of a lot of fellas in Cork anyway. One fella now that really stood out for me was Jacob O'Driscoll. He's a big young fella. Kind of reminds me of Jamie O'Sullivan there from a few years back. He's just a big young fella and can move. I know I'm kind of getting a bit ahead of myself here, but I could see him as a number 6 down the road. Who else now? Dara Sheedy and Conor Daly, two young fellas, two young forwards, came in and they looked promising. And the one thing I really thought about them was that they wanted to take on responsibility. And look, that's a must at this level. You can't be shying away. And these fellas definitely stood up the last day when the game was in the melting pot. They had a couple of good possessions and did nothing wrong when they had them. Look, and these are the type of forwards we need to get, because we just have been lacking that bit of X factor. Michael McSweeney was another newcomer. Now, I saw him against Killarney in the County Senior B final this year, and look, while he played well, I think he got man of the match the same day. I just wasn't sure about him. Could he step up to inter-county level, because he was being mentioned that time as a prospect. But definitely last Saturday, he didn't put a foot out of place and did his chances no harm at all. Another thing that kind of caught my eye was the full back line. As a unit, I thought that they worked well. I think, I could be wrong here now, but I think that they were kind of switching their markers just depending on the situation that was in front of them. And I think this is vital, because putting the likes of Daniel O'Mahony on Clifford and his sole responsibility for him is what the Cliffords will do and Kerry will do is they'll manipulate your positions. They'll manipulate you out of position like Clifford as a kind of a lure, and it just creates space for the other quality they have. And we can't go down that road going forward. But just going through the rest of the lines, it was just to mention the few fellas that were the rest of the fellas that played. There was plenty to like, I thought anyway. Look, Daniel O'Mahony, look, he's as good as what's out there around the country at fullback. He's definitely, he has looked good since he came on the scene, but he's definitely looking very good at the moment. I don't think Clifford likes him being marked by him. He's after bulking up big time, and he's an absolute tank now. He's well bedded in, and as I said, he's as good as what's out there. I no fear whatsoever of Daniel O'Mahony at fullback. Just Sean Brady, he was cornerback. He had a good season last year. It was his first season. He's very confident player. He loves getting up the field, not afraid to offer himself in the overlap. So I'd be hoping that in 2025, he can drive on from that and really take it to another level. Brian O'Driscoll, wing back, look, he was excellent. Since he's come back, he's been really consistent. In fairness, he's been some performer. He's a big 2-point threat. never puts a foot wrong. You know, he really has done the business. Rory Maguire and Luke Fahey, yeah, they did fine. Couldn't complain. Look, nothing really went down the middle through Maguire at centre back. But I'm not overly convinced by him at centre back. He's an attacking centre back. He's not a man marker. I think he gets dragged out of the centre a lot. Look, Kerry had this issue with Tyg Morley there with the last couple of seasons, and Morley, again, not a typical man marker, and they were getting open down the middle, and they eventually bit the bullet with him, and they went for a more traditional style holding centre back, Mike Breen, and look, it paid dividends for them. And the only thing is, we really don't have an obvious candidate like Breen at the moment, so I can see why they're sticking with Maguire there. And look, he does offer a good bit going forward. He's a scoring threat as well, which look, it always helps. Colm O'Callaghan, again, top class. He's serious operator. Kicked a few beautiful scores. He's a beautiful kick for a big man, for a midfielder. Serious accuracy, and he's an absolute powerhouse as well. Like, he's as good as any midfielder in the country. Sean Welch, outstanding. You know, outstanding might be overrating it a small bit, but he did the business there the last day again, and he's high energy, big engine, never stops moving. He's he's honest. He's real honest player. And he's a bit of edge in him as well, which is brilliant. And last year was his first season. And he did nothing wrong last year. He was excellent, and he had a really good game against Dublin and Croke Park, especially there with the last 20 minutes. He coming down the stretch. He kicked a great point, and didn't look out of place at all. Now, this is the man I really want to talk about here, is Sean McDonald at 11. He looks the part. He was very impressive last year in his debut season. Even from the first league game, he looked the business. Can kick a 2-pointer, not afraid to kick. He can drive down the middle as he did the last day, right? He had a few goal opportunities, didn't take them, but look, he was making the openings, and he could be really key to us taking the next step forward. We really need a centre forward like that. He looks very comfortable, and I don't think we have had a player like him since Paddy Kelly. So I've big hopes for Sean McDonald at 11. Rory Dean. Look, Rory Dean. He's going to have a role all through the season for us, because I've huge time for him. Ever since the first time I saw him playing for Cork, he really gives it everything. And honest as the day is long, he's not going to trouble the scoreboard too much. But look, since he eliminated the rushes of blood to the head from his game, I think he has really come on as a player. And look, he's just an inspiration, I think, to especially to younger players. He's a great example. Conor Cahalan, I'd say he would like to have shown a bit more, but he worked hard. But look, it just didn't click for him. I don't know. It's look, if he wants to be in the starting 15, he'd want to be showing a bit more than that. Chris Og, yeah, he's maturing. That's what I'd say. He's much more assured in possession now. He always had this kind of jittery body language, and he nearly always took 2 touches to gather possession, and which, you can't do that at the top level. You can't be taking a second touch. We know, look, he has the eye for goal. And actually, another thing about him was, when I actually saw him Saturday, I didn't actually recognise him. He's after bulking up big time. When he came on the scene there first, he was only a slip of a fella, but he has bulked up. Mark Cronin, the other corner, look, we know what he offers. He's full of composure, doesn't get rattled under pressure, nearly always takes the right option, which, look, as we all know, that's been an Achilles heel for Cork forwards down through the years, and he's a serious free taker. From the left hand side, so no fault there. Look, I think he did well. No, Stephen Sherlock on the other corner, like, great to see him back in action, but he found the going tough. He seemed to drift out a long ways from goals. Look, I'd say a lot of that was down to trying to shake off Jason Foley. And Foley is an absolute speed merchant, like, and he covered Sherlock's runs all day. We know what Sherlock will do. He likes to come off the shoulder, take the pass, and he has a great kick if he gets the space. But Foley covered him with ridiculous ease. Like, he was, he just didn't. He hardly got a shot off, actually. But and look, there's been huge noise demanding his inclusion. Fair enough. He's definitely worth his place in the panel. There's no doubt about that. But as in for starting, I don't know. I just can't see that working. Not with the speed of the guys that he's going to come up against. But all I would say is, look, 20 minutes off the bench there when a game is after opening up. Like, Sherlock is a man that you'd really like to see. Like in Limerick, there was 2 years ago against Mayo. He came on and turned the game for us, like when the game was after opening up, and when he gets chances and gets space, he will take them, and you'll always get that coming down the stretch. So, look, that's the role I'd see for Sherlock for the coming year. Look, that's enough said about Killarney, I suppose. Look, a win is a win there, and it was great to see it, and it was also great to see Jack O'Connor getting riled up at the end there. Always warms the heart. There was a bit of late drama, I think, this handing the ball back after a free, carrying on our friends across the county bounds, and no better boys. They're after realising now that they can manufacture these 50-metre penalties. So they tried it the last day in the dying moments, and the referee bought it, of course, and was moving the ball up 50 metres. But in fairness to the linesman, he saw that what was after happening, and he got the ref to overturn the decision, and Jack lost the plot completely, and he challenged him after the game, and I suppose he was just laying down a marker with the referee for future references in this kind of I know where you live kind of vibe, like. But anyway, so that's the Grath Cup done. So look, the league campaign, it starts this weekend in Páirc Uí Chaoimh against Cavan. Look, lads, it's a must win. If we are to have any chance of being getting promotion, like, or even in the shake-up, we have to win this, like, because look, in reality, if we're to get where we want to go, we have to be playing Division 1, and we're languishing in Division 2 there with a couple of years, and we're just not progressing out of it. Look, the championship draw is after finally give you some bit of an easier route to Munster final, which would guarantee Sam Maguire football, but look, there's no guarantees with Cork footballers. We know that down through the years, so there's no givens there. But if we don't win this game on Sunday, like, things could start going wrong fast, and then you're in a relegation dogfight, and look, it'll be over before it starts. And the thing about it as well, look, the last 5 seasons we've only won one of our opening games, and that was against Meath last year, and I think they kicked 20 wides, and as you'll remember, like, we were lucky to get out of there with a win. So we don't really have a track record of starting well. Our fixture list, we have Cavan at home, Louth away, Offaly away, Meath at home, Derry away, Kildare at home, and Tyrone away. Now, realistically, we need to be getting 6 points from our first 4 games, and in reality 8. Look, 6 points, we probably take it, but look, anything less than that and we're goosed. But 4 points, if we get 4 points after them 4 games, probably mid-table safety is what we'll end up at. But anything less than 4, like, we're in deep trouble. But the last 3 games, at best there, the last 3 games are Derry away, Kildare at home, Tyrone away. Look, I'd say at best 3 points, probably only 2. So looking at the division overall, 8 points would probably be a good return, when you look at it. But that's not likely to be good enough for promotion. And it'll probably take 9-10 points to get promoted. So that's where that stands. We don't know an awful lot about Cavan. Look, I didn't realise this, but they have been pushing for promotion with the last 2 years. They actually went in, over the last 2 seasons, they went into their final league game with promotion in their own hands. We were nowhere near that. We beat them in the last game last year. We dug out a 2-point win up there, and it made our season look, it made our position look well. But they were in the shake-up where we weren't. So there last summer they exited the championship in Killarney. Look, I think that was on before the Cork and Dublin game. We actually watched it in Croke Park above. They didn't trouble Kerry just up the gears when they needed to, but before that they lost the first round of the Ulster to Tyrone by 4 points. They came through the round robin and head to head, which they beat Mayo in their group game. So look, they're no Dawes. They have a new manager, Dermot McCabe. He's a former midfielder of theirs, kind of a no-nonsense character. He would have won an Ulster title in 1997, and they went on to lose an All-Ireland semi-final to Kerry, which is another handy one for our neighbours there. They won an All-Ireland in 97, beating Clare, I think, and Cavan and Mayo. Christ, leave me alone. Anyway, he was managing Miss Mead with the last few years, and if you remember, I'll tell you, they gave us enough of it in the league game last year down in Cork, and as far as I can remember, we were lucky enough to come out of it with a win. I think the ref, Jesus, he really did us a couple of favours. So I think another thing that they've got the easier side of the Ulster draw for 2026. So there'll be plenty of optimism up there of them having a good run through the season, and they will be really up for it for Saturday night, or for Sunday. But what they've shown this year already is that they lost their 2 McKenna Cup games, which I think they've used 29 players, experimental lineups, and the one thing they did actually, which showed a bit of ruthlessness from the manager, they played a few ineligible players. They were kind of Sigerson tied, but they played them anyway, because I presume he just wanted to see those players and affect the rules, he said. Because actually I'd say they actually have, of the 21 players that featured against Mayo last year, they in the game they won against Mayo, they actually have only 10 of those players available at the moment. So that's why he was, I'd say, trying to get to look at as many players as possible. But they seem to be down a lot of players. But who they're also missing is that their forward talisman, Darren McVitie, and he's a big loss to them. So look, from the bit of research I've done, they have their style is this kind of a really possession-based, slow, methodical build-up. They're not really a counter-attacking team. So lads, I'd say we need to be patient, and we really struggle against those type of teams, these keep ball type teams. So look, be ready for some dour stuff on Sunday. Of course, the hurling crowd will really love that. So beyond that, they seem to be susceptible for goals down through the middle. They will likely be playing this guy Conor Brady at centre back, and he seems to be the same kind of a player as Rory Maguire, more of an attacking threat than a man marker. So it's we'll see what'll happen there. Their goalkeeping situation isn't settled either. I think they've been struggling with their own kick out. So hopefully we'll get a bit of a return there. We are strong under the kick out, so hopefully that'll go well for us. Another thing that they're fairly threadbare for cover in their full back line. look, we'll see how it goes. Opening league games, they can be a bit of a lottery, but look, we just really have to get this done, because we're goosed if we don't. Looking at the bigger picture for 2026, this is vital. We need to see some proper green shoots through the league, and look, it'll be just building a panel that, look, in reality, we have to be looking somewhere around the end of this decade to be challenging for an All-Ireland. Look, we really have to. I think Meath are a great template for us. Like, they have, they got an All-Ireland semi-final last year, right? It didn't go well for them, but I think we need to take that step. We need to get to an All-Ireland quarter-final, semi-final, and I think the thing about Meath as well is that they ditch this kind of negative type of football, and they just went for it. And in fairness, Colm O'Rourke got a lot of stick when he was with him, but I think he changed the way they played. He went for it. He realised that, you know, they had spent years playing this kind of defensive type of a game. It was going nowhere, and they won what's the Talton Cup, and they were playing a really kind of a positive brand of football, and the new rules came in then, and that really suited them. I think he had a lot of groundwork there, so I think that Meath is a crowd that we should be kind of looking at and maybe deriving some hope from. But look, and another thing, look, our injury profile, it's improving, and that's huge, because it's killed us there with the last couple of years. If we can get Conor Corbett and Cathal O'Mahony fit and firing, I think it would be a huge bonus for us. We're well served with backs, but its forwards, look, are going to make the difference, and to be great to see those guys maxing out their potential, because you know, we know they have it. Like, it's just that they'll need a prolonged kind of a stint playing, and I think we could see the best of them. Look, we'll see what Sunday brings down in Páirc Keeve. Hopefully we'll see you there, and that's the preview over anyway. And so what I want to do next is, look, as I said, I want to look back at a kind of a game from the past at the end of each episode, and well, I think no better place to start for me is my first ever game. And what I'd really love here is that going forward is that if you could suggest games that could be discussed, or maybe send me accounts of games that you were at that stick out in your memory. I'm going to begin in 1981, Munster final in Killarney. That was my first ever Cork and Kerry game, and I was trying to actually gather info on this game online, and there's very little there. There's no video on YouTube or anything like that. You've all the other videos of 1980, 82, the 70s, and so on, but we don't seem to have that video. But look, I think we got hammered the same day. We got a point from play through Dave Barry. Dave Barry must be only a young fella at that time, but that's all we got from play. Like, so that was pretty horrific. But I couldn't actually even get the Cork lineup on the day, but it included the late Christy Ryan, Kevin Cahill, and Tom Creedon. While I really do have a vivid memory of Billy Morgan getting poleaxed by a late shoulder from the Bomber Liston, and the game was stopped for a bit, and Morgan was stretchered off. I actually saw a photograph of it, of the incident there over the last few days, and in today's game it would have been a straight raid. Morgan actually had the ball gathered into his chest, and even before Liston made contact with his shoulder. But I think, as far as I know, that was Morgan's last championship game for Cork. In fact, I'm nearly certain, but I don't remember too much more about it. I was only a garçon. So that's that. Look, all I'll say is thanks for sticking with me through this bit of a ramble. I hope you enjoyed it and you'll tune in again. I'll try to keep this going, time permitting. Look, it'd be great now if you could share this link with friends or family or anyone who you think might be interested. If you have any suggestions or ideas, leave a comment or email me directly at the Cork. It's actually, just get this right now. My email is corkfootballpod@gmail.com. So that would be great if I get a bit of feedback or a few suggestions. And something I'd really like to do is interviews with other long-suffering diehards, just with some of your memories or views or analysis. That would be brilliant. So, or even if you want to record some audio and send it to me, that would be great as well. So, look, that's it for this week. I hope we'll see you in the park for the double header on Sunday, and thanks and God bless.